This presentation is part of the Reproductive Health and Safety Unit. During this lesson, we will be discussing proper decision-making skills, abstinence until marriage, and peer pressure. These three topics can and will play a vital role in your quality of life. The objectives for this lesson are: number 1, students will understand the meaning of abstinence. Number 2, students will recognize that abstinence is the only 100% effective method in avoiding unplanned pregnancy and is far superior in preventing STIs when compared to contraceptive methods. Number 3, students will comprehend and utilize the decision-making model. Number 4, students will identify peer pressure and be able to negotiate around it. Number 5, students will gain the ability to quickly adapt and use refusal skills as needed. You will find the question box assignment, although it's not an assignment, you will find the question box linked in the module as an assignment so you can submit. Any questions you have about this lesson can be submitted there. If your question applies to the entire class and is appropriate, your question and mentor answer will be placed in the question box discussion for us to discuss as a class. Some questions may be better answered privately by direct reply from your mentor or by your parents. Remember that we want to maintain a mature and respectful environment, and if a question is inappropriate to the class, then it will not be placed in the question box discussion section. Take out a half sheet of paper or open up a word processing document and answer these three questions as thoroughly as you can. Pause the presentation while you respond to these questions. When you have completed the questions, you may resume the presentation. Decision making. It is important to think through all of your decisions, big or small. There is a 6-step process that will help assist you in making better and healthier choices. Before jumping into a decision, make sure you think about these 6 steps. We're going to go into detail about these 6 steps in the upcoming slides. If you have to think about it and or manipulate your moral compass, then chances are your decision could be the wrong one. Remember who you are and act accordingly when making a decision. Step number 1. State the situation. Before making a decision, you must clearly identify the situation at hand. Ask yourself, what decision do I need to make? Am I being asked to go somewhere, do something, make something, give something, ignore what I saw, or something else? Who is involved in this situation? This can help determine your decision depending on who is asking and who is involved. Is there negative or positive peer pressure that is being applied to your decision? You may also want to ask yourself how much time you have to make that decision. By starting with step 1 and asking these questions, you are helping yourself make an educated decision. Step 2. List the options. Once the situation has been determined, now it's time to present the options. Take time to think about as many options as possible, remembering that there are always multiple options. Ask for advice from parents, guardians, friends, teachers, mentors, other trusted people, keeping in mind that there are times when it is most appropriate not to take any action at all. The more advice obtained, the better chance there is of making the correct decision. Step 3. Weigh all the possible outcomes. The viable options that have been determined need to be evaluated. Every option will come with both positive and negative consequences. The goal is to determine which option has the least negative and most positive effect. If the help strategy is used, it will aid in making a healthier and less negative decision. H stands for helpful. Does this choice present any health risk? E stands for ethical. Does this choice reflect what you value? L stands for legal. Does this option violate any local, state, or federal laws? P stands for parental approval. Would your parents or guardians approve of this choice? Step 4, consider your values. The decision that you make will represent you and you alone. Remember not to manipulate your morals or beliefs, because in the end, there is a lot to be said about being comfortable in your own skin. Step 5, make a decision and act on it. At step 5, it's time to make the decision utilizing the previous 4 steps. It's important that an educated decision is made so that minimal negative consequences occur. At this point, pick your decision and start the process of acting on that decision. Step 6, evaluating the decision. The last step is a major step. It's time to reflect and learn from the decision that you made. Essentially, you are asking yourself, if the same situation presented itself, would I make the same decision? Why or why not? This is the time to learn from the past. Take all the scenarios, think through them again. What could have or would have been different if a different decision was made? Now we're going to take a look at abstinence. What is abstinence? Pause the presentation and answer the following questions. These questions are a part of your study guide for this week. Remember, abstaining can be practiced for all types of reasons: religious reasons, physical reasons, emotional reasons, social reasons, or financial reasons. Now take time, pause the presentation, and answer the questions. Many students have heard about abstaining from premarital intercourse, and that is typically the example provided by the class. Remember that some people abstain from things for religious reasons. Essentially, a person can abstain from a variety of things. Most things are done in an effort to protect their health. For example, staying away from junk food, soda, alcohol, cigarettes, premarital intercourse, or drugs. Others abstain from things because they want to keep a relationship strong. For example, cheating or lying. Most people abstain from unhealthy habits because they care about their future and they want to protect it. Think about something that you abstain from. Why have you chosen to abstain from that thing? Abstinence is the only 100% effective way to prevent sexually transmitted infections. Abstinence is the only 100% effective way to prevent unplanned pregnancies. Abstinence is the only choice if you want to be sure that you will not get an STD and you will not have an unplanned pregnancy. All other methods only limit the chances of infections or pregnancy. Peer pressure is an influential means to get someone to do something. There are 2 forms of peer pressure, positive and negative. Peer pressure typically will use words of encouragement, while negative peer pressure is more related to bullying and negative reinforcement. Examples of negative peer pressure are seen on this slide. Keep in mind that there are many more types of peer pressure. Presented are just a few to make you aware of. It is always good to have an exit strategy in case you are confronted by one or more of these methods. It is advised that you have a predetermined way out of any negative situation. Many times these are called refusal skills. In order to avoid peer pressure, you will have to develop and practice refusal skills. First, you must start by saying no and stand your ground. You may not exactly say no, but in some way, shape, or form, you must remove yourself from the situation. You may also try other ways out, such as suggesting an alternative activity or walking away. Refusal skills must be practiced if they are to work well. Remember to make a decision and stand by it. If no is the answer, then don't be pressured to change it. Remember that there are many ways to say no without saying no. Although also remember that no is the strongest and most straightforward answer. Think of additional ways to say no that aren't listed on this slide. High risk or risky behaviors. These items are what cause negative and less positive health risk. As we all know, each person has genetic health risks that are difficult or impossible to control. Everyone must take care of their own bodies, and one of the best ways to do this is to limit health risk. Abstaining from premarital intercourse is a great example of limiting your health risk because it will eliminate the chances of obtaining an STI as well as an unplanned pregnancy. Remember that if you have any questions about abstinence or about peer pressure or about decision making, don't forget to submit them in the question box assignment. If your question applies to the rest of the class and is appropriate, I will post the question and response in the discussion for the class to discuss.